Hello, well, and welcome back, Region 12. I hope you had a nice lunch break. Welcome back to our Summer AIM 2020 event. Our next class for today is with Miss Lea Beverley, our international faculty that we have with us. We're so excited that she's here. She did a fabulous class this morning on the expression category. And today, her next class is called Embellishment Barbershop Ear Candy, Barbershop Ear Candy. I was getting the title incorrect. We're so excited to hear all about it and about embellishments. If you do not know Lea, or if you weren't able to make it to her class this morning, Lea Beverley has been a member of the Sweet Adeline's International Judging Program since 2001 and became a certified expression judge in 2006 and has served as a panel chair and judge analyst. She really enjoys judging and finds it very fulfilling and loves coaching. That's become a passion of hers. And she coaches choruses and quartets all across the United States, as well as in New Zealand and Australia. She is a proud Texan and currently lives in the state of Washington. And she loves spending time at the beach, watching baseball and football, and being crafty and with doing craft projects. So please welcome again, Lea Beverley.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you. Those of you who are repeat, thank you for coming back. Those of you who are new, welcome. Just so you know, I'm a little quirky and have a weird sense of humor. So hopefully not offensive, but it is a weird one. We're going to talk about embellishments, which is one of the elements that we talked about today in the artistic elements earlier this morning. It's fun because it's almost uniquely barbershop, and which is, I think, kind of makes one of the things that makes our craft cool. There's many of them, but that's one of the ones I like a lot. The handout on the PowerPoint, you'll get your handout available after the class. It will have all the stuff on that we're talking about. So you can take notes, or you can wait to get the handout. So we're going to go through the different types of embellishments, and I've got examples of different groups, guys and girls, not together, unfortunately, which now is a thing, but I don't have many good videos of that, but I'm going to look for some. So it's mostly either all girls quartets, choruses, men's quartets. So that's what the examples will be today. So let's just get right into it with what are barbershop and embellishments, and how many of them? How many can you name? So the ones that we're going to talk about today are the echo, power swipe, contrary motion swipe, unison, which you may or may not have thought of as an embellishment, the peel off, patter, which is a fun one, difficult but fun, melody handoff, solos, and the ever famous, probably most associated with barbershop by civilians, which I call non-barbershop or civilians, is the bell cord. Those are the ones we're going to address today. There may be more, and if you can think of any more, text them to me and I will research it, because these are the ones that that I think are the most common. So how do you execute barbershop embellishments? Well, the arrangers put in a huge variety of them. Some arrangers are known for using certain kinds. So you can kind of guess who the arranger is sometimes by not only the cording, but the use of the embellishments. So that's kind of exciting. Some of the very basic arrangements, even like How We Sang Today, or that has echoes and some lead-ins in it. So even that song, which is known by all of us, that even has some embellishments in it. And they can go from something simple like that to an arrangement you'll hear later that has pretty much every kind of embellishment known to mankind, and is still exciting and wonderful when done well. So all embellishments are worthy of our attention. Now, if there's some in the arrangement that you don't feel real comfortable with, it's okay to, maybe depending on the arranger, to maybe leave them out. Some people do, some people don't. So that's up to you and your coach and your director, of course. So that's it. Motion is needed in all parts. And this is probably the most common thing that is inconsistently, that keeps them from being as successful. So what that means is we want the sound to still keep coming by the parts that may or may not have something interesting. So if you're having an echo, oftentimes somebody's holding a part, we call her a post or whatever you want to call that, that that is probably almost more important than the people doing the actual echo. If the sound is growing and supporting and keeping alive, the echo is going to be that much more impactful. That's certainly true in swipes and things like that. And I'll point some examples of that out for you. But motion is always needed. That forward motion, that continuous sound flowing forward. Embellishments are moving sounds, not changing pitches. So that goes along with the motion, the sound and the motion always being involved. So when you're doing a swipe, the sound, you're not just going from here to here, you're hitting all the notes with energy up to here. Or if you're doing an echo, it's not like, how I miss you tonight, tonight. No, it's got tonight. You got to have something in it. And volume and rhythmic changes are effective ways of keeping the embellishments fresh and alive and different, because especially if you have a lot of embellishments in an arrangement. So the first one is going to be the echo. And it is by far the most common. And that's when you take an element of the lyrics and repeat them at the end of the phrase, sometimes within the phrase, but often at the end of the phrase. And it's very important to not duplicate the timing and or the volume and or the rhythm of the original lyric that you're repeating. So if you can't, it would, if you said, oh, how I miss you tonight, tonight, wouldn't be all that interesting. Oh, how I miss you tonight, tonight. That would just change the timing of it. Or the first one, how I miss you tonight, tonight. There's no right or wrong answer, but you don't want to be too predictable, because the listener then just kind of clicks off. So that's probably the most common thing I hear of them not being effective, is when people just repeat it in the same timing and cadence and stuff like that. So you can add the vocal textures. So sometimes you could do it as a different dynamic volume. So you could be tonight, tonight, or tonight, tonight. There's all those different options. So play around with them and try to make them interesting, and sit back and record it and say, oh, yeah, that's the one I like best. So the echo is the most simplest and yet the most common. We are known in barbershop for our swipes. Swipes rule the day. And we have just the ordinary swipes, which in other hobbies they would probably call a glide, where just one part might be moving up a few notes, a note, even just a little mini slight, those kinds of things, or it doesn't matter how many notes, but we would still probably call that a swipe. When you involve more than the one part, we have some different names for them. The power swipe. I love this one. It's usually sung on it could be on the same chord, but usually on the same, it could be in a chord or in a duet, or a trio. And it's almost always starting on the same vowel. And then what happens, there's often one part holding, sometimes it's two, but they're holding and they're posting, and then the parts move around them. Similar to the next swipe, we're going to talk about the contrary swipe. So you have the sound is going like this. What people don't often know to do is, for the people who, before you start moving, is that you grow the sound. So when you're on your initial chord, you start growing it, and the listener thinks that's the end, but it's, oh, wait, there's more. And then you do the swipe. It makes it so much more exciting. It's thrilling when it's done that way. And then you always want to think of your sound going up and out, rather than, it's not a lateral thing. It's always up and out. Whether your notes are descending or ascending, you want it to be out into the ether lands. So this is an example of a lovely quartet doing not only the power swipe, but some other stuff as well. Oops. Darn it.
This love divine. Time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky that you're mine, oh mine. You'll hear me say you're mine. Time
that tag is just glorious. I mean, it's just a glorious tag. I love the whole song, but I just go, whoa, I get to hear that tag because it's just magnificent, just brilliant. So that had a lot of different swipes in it. So it had just a regular swipe, it had a power swipe, it had some peel offs, it had a unison, it had an echo, and so when they started the power swipe, it was on the mine, and then Peggy went all, and then that started the echo, which, so it was a different word, but it was all on the same vowel. And so that makes it, I mean, that was even harder because she had to change words and maintain that same vowel. Can you play that again, Randy? So that, listen for that.
this love divine. Time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky that you're mine, oh mine. You'll hear me say you're mine. Time
So cool. So I think the second time you hear that arrangement of the swipe, you can hear different things in it. So hopefully you picked up a few of the other swipes after knowing to listen for them. So cool. The next kind of swipe is the contrary motion swipe. And so what happens in that is you have your chord, and as it's moving along, then some people are going like this, some people are going like this, and they're changing. It's usually an octave, often, not always. But so one's going from here, one's going, and the destination's here, and they're crossing paths. And in the middle, they might be an octave apart or 2 octaves apart, but they're going to be hitting the same note in the middle. So that is the big challenge of this kind. I mean, there's a lot of challenges, but that's the big one. You should hear where it's a unison briefly as they do the swipe. So that makes it kind of fun and interesting and difficult. And so again, in this one, the one who's holding has to expand. So here you go on this one.
that you're mine, oh mine. You'll hear me say you're mine.
You're right there. Don't you love the end of our videos when everybody gets excited when you're watching the international videos? I think it's way cool. As a performer, it's exciting. So with that one, did you notice where on that one swipe, where that's where the contrary motion was? Timeless did it as well, but I wanted to show you with a chorus doing it. And the other thing that the Lionsgate one did, for those of you who are in the morning class, when I talked about the R vowel and the UHR, they held time after, which would not be a word most people would want to hold. And they held that one with a pretty darn good lack of in it. It wasn't perfect, but it was really, really good. And that's so so darn difficult. So to be able to do that at the end of a song, such an emotional and tough song, and I think this is probably song, I don't know if it's song 1 or 2, but anyway, so that it was really impressive. So I wanted to point that out. Here's another chorus singing, I think, the same song.
Passing years will show just how we keep this love divine. Time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky that you're mine all my life. You'll hear me say you're
So the two are both exceptionally good choruses, singing the same song, slightly different variations in how they executed their plan, but very similar, but still a little bit different. They also held the and it was slightly more unified than the Lionsgate chorus. So it was really good. And this one was, Jim Arnes was the arranger of this song. So I would imagine they're performing it how he envisioned it as the arranger, which fortunately most of the people do it that way as well. So anyway, I thought it was kind of cool. The other thing that these girls do so very well, in fact, we might play it again, is because I want you to hear, when I talked about growing before you move, they have that down. So let's listen to that just one more time and listen for how the sound is growing before the embellishment continues. And then you can listen to the turn after. They also have lots, we talked about it this morning, the vocal nuances and vocal texture changes and stuff in here that make it just that much better.
passing years will show just how we keep this love divine. Time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky that you're mine all my life. You'll hear me say you're
So hopefully you picked up that second time through the subtle differences that they're doing so very well. Lionsgate did too, of course, but that I thought was a particularly good example of that growing. That's what we're talking about pretty much on all the embellishments, and they were nailing it, which is why they scored 95, 96, 97 on one song. So I don't know if Allison mentioned it, but I do want you to ask questions in it. So if you send them through the YouTube thing, if anything that you're unclear of at all, please ask the questions, and she pops them to me, and then we'll answer them as pretty much right away. So please do that. Know that they are all welcome. Try to stump me. Just kidding. Don't stump me. But if you can, I'll figure it out after the fact. Unison. This one is, it's usually just a note. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 notes, but it's usually just one word that's in unison. It can be incredibly powerful because you go from having a big 4-part chord down all of a sudden to one note. So it's used for dramatic effect oftentimes. And we're calling it unison when more than one part is singing, obviously. The degree of difficulty is high because all the singers have to match that same pitch and that same vowel with the same resonance, and turn all the synchronization of the the diphthongs if they're already attacking the consonants. So all the internal word synchronization elements are really important. So that's what makes this so difficult. But it's incredibly powerful. There are some of these embellishments that we've shown so far have had a note that was in unison, but I didn't point those out then. But so listen for them, you'll hear some of them again. And then the next one is the peel off, which is another type of almost like a swipe, but not really. And they're often almost always at the end of the song because they're so dramatic. But you start with a chord or note or however they do it, and then it could be different. And then they start, one part starts moving, and so it's just building. And so the goal of that one is that the people who are doing the holding, you know what their job is: grow it, build it, move it, whatever your language is for that, it all applies. It's got to be alive. It's got to have a destination. Those are just some of the words we all use. So that's the most important part of the peel. Well, the accuracy and all that too. But as far as the execution from an expression standpoint is that. And then the people who are peeling off, for them to make it alive, and as they usually descend, that they're getting more and more excited. Their energy is getting more and more prevalent. So here's a good example of that.
From the start, I will love you till the end of
So in this one, they started out on a unison. So, and it wasn't quite unified. So by it not being quite, I mean, it's still really, really good. But if it's when it wasn't quite 100% together on the pitch, it wasn't. That means the parts that are moving, that your intervals aren't going to be as clean. So the sound judge isn't as keen on that. And they did a pretty darn good job of supporting the sound. It wasn't quite as exciting as it could be if they had added more growth. With each one should have been more exciting than less. As each note moved, it should get build and build and build to more of a climax to support that the swipe that the basses did, which is a great barbershop finale. So can you play that one again, Randy?
From the start, I will love you till the end of
I hope that by listening to it again, you could hear those little details, and you could hear that. I mean, it's very, very good. I mean, this scored in probably 85 or so, 83, 86, somewhere in there. I don't have the scores in front of me. And I think this was about 10 years ago or so. But you could hear that it was just kind of stagnant. Okay, what's the question?
So the question that came through is, the person asked, so the out of tune issue on this swipe would appear on both the sound and expression judges sheets.
No, thanks for asking that. I can't talk about being out of tune. I could talk, how I would address it being out of tune, but I can't say that. We have to leave that to the sound judges. As much as we want to chime in on that, is that I would say unifying the initial word would make the swipe more effective. So I couldn't say because it was out of tune, but I could address that it wasn't unified. So yeah, I'd want to say it, but I couldn't. Sometimes we have to, and it's hard. It's very, very hard. Just kidding. No, actually it is hard. And if we do delve into another category, we get in trouble. So we, I don't know if everybody knows, but we get every contest season, we get what we call the report card that all the judges do. And even the head of the judging program, hers are reviewed. So we get from the time we start as a trial scorer all the way till we retire. We get these, we call it, did you get your report card? And we're graded on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best. And so if we're judged on or evaluated on a number of things. One is if we stay in our category. So if we ever delve out of our category, you'll say such and such comment on score on sheet number, contestant number, blah, blah, and region, whatever, was a sound comment or a music comment or something like that. So yeah, so we get a little, and so then we try not to do it. So anyway, that was just a little trivia. Okay, let's move on to patter. One of probably the most common songs that you've heard is Carolina, Nothing Could Be Finer. And when they do the Carolina and the other parts are like, Nothing Could Be Finer, that's a really good example of patter. It's when all 4 parts are not singing the same words at the same time, which is, and what makes it could be very exciting when it's done well. And to be done well, it has to be often, most of the time, the vowels line up every so often so that it's clean that way. It's not always that way, but often it's that way. So you usually have one part doing like a rocking thing on a 1 and a 3, and the other part's adding stuff. I mean, that's not a rule, but that's just generally what happens. And so the trick is to have the listener be able to hear the words on the rocking thing and hear the words for the embellishment. It's often the upper parts that are singing more. It's not always, but it's often the treble clef. So that's the trick on that. High degree of accuracy, really good sense of rhythm and pulse, and totally clear vowels and use of consonants and all that sync stuff. Those are the challenges for patter. So here you go. Sorry, here we go. So in that one, which was different what I just said, that one actually had more of the words in the bass clef. Midnight, choo choo, and the other ones were doing it. So let's listen to that one more time and listen for that, and then we'll have a question right after that. So it wasn't a very long bit of patter, but it did add a lot of interest, especially since they were, along with their vocal textures and all that stuff, they were creating the sense of a train. So it's a really effective in the arrangement. It was really well done and well executed by them. What is the question?
The question is, can you have patter in a contest song? And if so, how much?
Yes, you can. This was a contest song, and I believe they came in 2nd or 3rd overall in the contest that this was. They scored 700 and something points on a 4-judge panel kind of way, or I guess on the 8 judges for this one song. So yes, that is a definite yes. I don't think there's any real hard and fast rules that would be under the music category, but usually you don't want to do it more than either 4, probably 8 bars, because of the difficulty. And you know, those music and sound judges really like aligned chords, a whole lot. And I like it because of synchronization. They like it because of their mental state. I'm just being weird about other judges, just so you know. It's a little competition we have among the categories. I know some are watching, so I got to dig them and they can't dig me back because they're muted. So anyway, that's my weird sense of humor coming up. So I would say usually 4 to 8 bars is probably the most that you would want. Okay, so all right, so let's move on. Melody handoff. Many of you might not have really heard of this. You've heard it, but not necessarily known that what you were hearing. I mean, you kind of knew, but didn't know it was an embellishment maybe. And because most of the people who do it are so good at it, you don't even know it's happening. So this is when you're singing. It's usually near the end, but not always. You want to have a note or a word sustained for a long period of time, which surpass most people's breathing skills. So you transfer it to another person to take over the pitch. Now it can be, or the word, I would call it word, music and judges would call it pitch. What you have to do is have to sound, it could be an octave apart and still count, but you want to have it be matched. So the really key, if you're taking over the exact same note, is the person who comes in has to be exactly the same timbre, the same resonance, the same space as the person who initiated it. And then they have to leave so seamlessly that we don't even know the transfer had occurred. That's the ultimate goal. It's really difficult. It's sometimes done by choruses. It's more often done by quartets, but it is done by choruses. Here's a group that you might recognize earlier in their career that does an excellent job of it.
It's love, really love, and not a dream. My heart, take care, my foolish heart.
They're so good and so cute and wonderful people and ambassadors for our hobby. I've been at several shows that they've been on, and I've been around them, and they're just amazing, individually and collectively, women. So what a great
Can we hear
thing
that
for
one
your
more
region.
time? Can we hear it one more time, please?
No, you can't hear it again. Yes, you may hear it again. But did you hear? So they did a swipe to get into the transfer. So like if you weren't watching it, you probably wouldn't know that it had happened. And there's a lot of times that somebody will have commented about a handoff when we're, after we watch something or judge something, we're like, did you hear that? It was like really good. I'm like, what do you mean? And so when you get the video, you're like, oh my God, sometimes you literally have to watch their mouths change to know that it happened. Yeah, hear it again because it's really, really good, as is everything else they're doing.
It's love, really love, and not a dream. My heart, take care, my foolish heart.
All that and being nice and cute. There's something not fair about that, but thank goodness it happened and they got together. I remember I judged their contests, I think when they won Harmony Classic, which was almost three of the 4. Anyway, so that was a long time ago, but and look at where they are now. So that's an exceptional, it doesn't get any better than that for a melody handoff. So what's the question?
The question is, someone asked, so points are not taken away from quartets that do that?
No, I mean, we never first of all, we never take away points. Just, I mean, I know it's a semantic thing, but I think it's an important concept to know. We judge of what's there, not of what's not there. And I think that's an important distinction. We don't know what your plan is. And we may or may not have ever heard the song or that arrangement of the song. So we wouldn't know what isn't there. But even if it's something we're very familiar with and you've chosen to do it differently or take something out, as long as it does well and it still meets all the form requirements and stuff like that, no, we would never penalize that. When you do something like that that's so good, you might get a beef up in a point, or but we would never take points away. Now if you tried doing it and it didn't go really well, it would be one thing that would be part of your cumulative evaluation, but we wouldn't necessarily they didn't do that transfer or anything really. We would never say, oh yeah, I had to deduct points for that. That is never ever said, ever. I mean, I've been on hundreds of panels and I've never once heard a judge say that. It's just not how we think. It's always an add to. And when we listen to our level tapes, so before every contest, we listen to the same judges all across all the regions, listen to the same, well, it's not a tape anymore, of course, but we still call it that. And we start at like C level and go all the way up to A or A plus. And for quartets, it's a different one. In chorus and open division, it's different. So we listen to that and we go up. We almost always listen to it on an upward movement. So we start at the C and then we might listen to a bunch of C's together and then a bunch of B's together, or decide if that's a B or a B plus or a B minus. Those might be rocked around. We just don't think of it as subtraction. We think of it as addition. So, I mean, that's the truth. It's being recorded, so I have to tell the truth. So what's the other question?
The next question is, someone is asking, they asked, in a chorus, when the melody transfers to another voice part besides lead for a phrase or two, is that considered an embellishment?
No. Well, in general, I would say no, because we wouldn't necessarily hear that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I'm trying to think. I wouldn't. I mean, it can be really good and to do that, but I don't think I would consider that an embellishment. I haven't really given that any thought. Good job on stumping almost. Yeah, and I'd never thought of that as one. Oftentimes they do that. There's oftentimes because of one of the singers or even if it's a whole chorus, is ability to sing in a certain range. It's more effective to change. You hear that a lot where some baritones will take over some of the lead lines, or other parts do the same because of where it is in the tessitura. And so that wouldn't be considered embellishment. So I don't think it would be and oftentimes we wouldn't know. Like I would, as an expression judge, I wouldn't hear that happening. I would only know this was happening because it was so long. I mean, and you could hear the swipe, so I know what's coming. So yeah, I think that would be my answer. If I change my mind later on before we end, I will update it, but I think that would be my answer. But good, keep the questions coming. And that almost is a stumper. Solo passages, which kind of goes right along with what we just talked about. So that sometimes it's literally one singer singing alone, like at the beginning of Sweet Adeline. And when starting in the evening, that's a song that comes as a duo, and then it moves on to the four parts. That's one kind of solo, clearly. Or I think in My Foolish Heart, a lot of times the lead will have a 3 or 4 word thing that she sings by herself. Some people use it in the chords. It's written with chords. Sometimes they do it as a solo. So that would be that kind of solo passage, which is somewhat obvious. But if the because I mean there's only one voice, but if it's the background, if the other 3 parts are singing, then they need to keep that sound really alive. So their purpose is to keep the chords and the sync and all that, but also to keep the sound moving so that the soloist has that as accompaniment, but has a place to slot her sound into. and her words. So that's the trick in the solo, in the effective solos. The other thing too is when you're singing a solo, we often tell, we sing it straight, no vibrato, no this, no that, before the barbershop because of the alignments of the chords. But when you're singing a solo, so if you have the other parts are doing do, 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 or ah, whatever they're singing, you can add that little extra something that you might do as a soloist with a pianist as a backdrop. You don't want to overdo it, but you have a little bit more freedom to do that. And the last point I made on here is if sometimes another part will come in and take over and sing a solo. Well, we don't really, if our heads are down, or even if your heads are up, you may not know that it has switched. And so this isn't my category, but I'm a big believer in having something a little physical, whether they kind of, the new soloist person kind of takes a change of position from this to this, or whatever it is, or a little semi-step forward or something, so that our eyes go, oh, because sometimes it's gone past and you didn't even know it happened. You're like, what happened? So that's just as a little tip I use when I'm coaching. Yes, the question?
The question is, next question, the person is asking, in a contest song, how many measures of a solo passage is allowed, assuming it would appear on the music judge's score sheet?
I am not 100% sure of that, but I would say you don't want to do a whole lot of it. I would say, well, maybe 2 bars. I don't know. That's not my category, because we are a 4-part organization that we want to feature that. So if the soloist is singing without accompaniment, then if that's what is that what they were talking about? They were singing by themselves? Because if they're singing a solo with the backup singers, it's what I'm referring to them as, that could be a 4-bar thing, or maybe even 8 bars. But if it's just like at the beginning of Sweet Adeline, you don't want to do more than a bar or 2 of that. But if it's with the solo passage with the backup singers and there's chords, that will make the 2 judges, the sound and the music judge, happy if they have chords. And I'm happy if it's musical for it to go on the whole song. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think they would like it to be not really long. And you only ever want to do anything as long as you can do it well, right? If it's something you want to do it, if you can do it really well for 2 bars, don't do 4, right? So those kinds of things, know your skill level too. But I would ask a music judge that. That's my guess. Okay, so here's this one is kind of it's the solos, I think, near the end, and it's kind of embedded in the tag where they're holding. So the parts are holding, and then they're making it it's not an echo because it's new words. So I would consider this a solo passage.
She hugs the shore, headed for good old Baltimore. See the cattle turning, hear the water churning, Queen of Chesapeake Bay. Now, come on, Jimmy, put your best suit on. Come on, Jim, for the steamboat's gone. Everything is lovely on the Chesapeake Bay. All aboard for Baltimore. Come on, meet me at the shore. Look here, Captain, let us catch that boat. Mister, we can't swim, and honey, we can't float. Folks are...
Oh, that wasn't the one I was thinking. I probably I must have given Randy a bum steer, but it was really good. We didn't get to the part at the end with the solo, but did you hear the patter? There was a patter there at the beginning, which was really, of course, well done. And then they had the vocal inflections, and we talked about earlier in the earlier class about the use of consonants. It's just exceptional use of consonants in keeping the sound non-choppy. That's not exactly the right one, but my fault. Okay, so let's move on to bell chord. Oh, this one is, I think if you talk to civilians, this is probably what they would associate because of Mr. Sandman and songs like that from way back when. So the bell chord, we do them there's a lot of songs that have them in it, and sometimes the arranger doesn't put them in, and the director or the coach or somebody in the chorus will suggest splitting a chord into bells, and it's very, very effective and fresh. Um, and they're executed differently than the traditional barbershop chord, because in the bell chord, there it's not coning. So every part should be the same, about the same volume. So because they're all equally important, because they're basically singing a one note solo. And I think that's something that's also that's not as well understood. So the tenors and the basses, I know you're different in different parts of your range, but you should still be not equally as loud, because naturally basses are louder, but they should have the same amount of prominence and stuff like that. And the timing is critical. And sometimes in some of the bell chords, the timing is really tricky, where the people have to come in on the like a half beat and something like that, or because they're not always even. So it's a really challenging but really really cool embellishment. I know that they're very difficult to do, and so as a judge, if somebody has worked on them and you can tell they've worked on them, I will often write about that in the upper part, saying how much, well done on the bell chord. It's, it doesn't mean you get massive amount of points or anything for doing it well. It's included in their point structure, but I know how much work they are, and so I like to acknowledge them when they're done, because I think it's cool. Now, this is a group, I think they're a collegiate group. I think they might even be from California. I can't remember. And I just love the joy with which they sing, and their choreography is adorable as well.
Ba bum 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 bye 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 to those blues. Ba bum 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 bye 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 to those blues. Ba bum bum bum. Don't let me hear you sigh. Don't let me hear you cry. Bells are ringing, birds are singing. Bye 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 to those blues. Ba bum 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 bye 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 to those blues. Ba bum bum. Don't let me hear you sigh. Don't let me hear you cry. Bye 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 to those blues. Bye bye.
Aren't they adorable? I just think they're so cute, and to have these young guys doing that, and they do a pretty darn good job on those bell chords, and there's lots of them in there. Where they stubbed the most was when they tried to do the counter rhythm with the almost like a patter thing. They kind of lost their timing on that, but the bell chords, I thought that they did a really really good job, and I think the choreography was like over the top exciting. I mean, it's so cute. I don't know. I just love it. It makes me smile every time I watch it. I just think I'm glad that they did it, and they got together, and clearly they had a good time doing it, and I find it very enjoyable. So that's one of my favorite little examples of the bell chord. So pretty cool. All right. So embellishments are like important, and ordinarily I would be live and we would talk about different embellishments, but you've already asked about one, but if you could think of any others, send me a text or an email or something, and let me know, because I think, or talk among yourselves, because I think it's really it's a part of our craft that we don't spend a lot of time talking about, but it greatly enhances the performance, because it keeps the audience engaged. And a lot of these are designed to do when there ordinarily would be a piano or some kind of accompaniment. So that's what that's why I think that they were maybe started, I don't know, at least early on in the days. And now they're added artistry, they add drama at the end of it, like At Last, the big torch ballad. I mean, that's some of the most exciting swipes and finishes of any song out there. There's many, many, many examples of that. And then like Cuddle Up, the Clay Hine arrangement, it's got a good use of the of lead-ins and echoes and things. That's just really thrilling, and chord modulations that are exciting and all that too. But if you I challenge you to look at your arrangements next, either when you're alone with your music and listening to your course videos, to look at the different arrangements and say, that's an embellishment, because you may or may not have thought of that as one, or how many there were, and now hopefully how to do them better. So please send any questions if you have any. And I have this other performance before we end, but I wanted to show you this. This is a performance of a group that ultimately won, the men's organization, and they were young here. I think the filming on this is absolutely a hoot. It's at a European contest, so it's kind of different. They're filming, and what they think is interesting is a little different than us. So I think that's pretty fun. I love these guys, and I love what they're doing. So, before we go on, or when the video's done, you want to do it now?
No, I'm just, I agree with you. Videos of people's feet don't excite me, but what these guys are singing is great. I was going to ask you about tags. It seems like a tag is one embellishment after another, after another, after another.
Yes, often.
So
they often are, yeah.
All right.
And the really exciting ones are, I mean, not every song ends, some of them end with the traditional 8-bar or 4-bar, sing a repeat of the, basically of the intro with some different chords and end on a big split chord. But certainly the more challenging arrangements are full of embellishments.
All right, here we go.
That's my baby, no sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes sir, that's my baby now. Yes ma'am, we've decided. No ma'am, we won't hide it. Yes ma'am, you're invited now, invited now. By the way, when we reach the preacher, I'll say, yes sir, that's my baby. No sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes sir, I say that's my baby now, right now. Well, that's her. That's my baby now, right now. And who's the who I rave about? Who do I feel blue without? Winter, summer, spring and fall. What was I just gonna say? I forget. But anyway, here's the most important thing of all. Here's the best of all. Oh yes, I'll say the world, 'cause that's her. Oh, that's my baby. No, that's her. I say no, sir, and I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, that's her. Yes, sir, that's my baby now. Baby now. Yes, sweet ma'am, confess ma'am that we've decided. No, sweet ma'am, no, ma'am, no, we won't hide it. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, you're invited. I'll allow you're invited now. By the way, there's one thing I want to say. By the way, on this love wedding day, when I reach the preacher, you're gonna hear me say, I'll shout it right out loud, so proud, so proud. Yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir, I say that's my baby now, right now. Well, that's her. That's my baby. Yes, sir, that's my baby now. I don't mean maybe. Yes, ma'am, sir, you're invited now. Oh, you're invited now. Right. Yes, sir, that's my baby now.
Aren't they awesome? Those are the early version of the Ringmasters at the Eurovision contest. I just think they're terrific singers, and wonderful. I know the lead, but I don't know the others, but it's just amazing. And the work that they do to do all that, singing that song in a foreign language. I mean, my goodness, I can't imagine doing that. So kudos to them. And did you hear the embellishments? Were there echoes and lead-ins? Absolutely. The song starts out with a lead in, ain't he fine? Or she fine, I guess is how they sing it. So there's lots and lots and lots of those. And so many of the ones that they did had variety and interest. And this song is such a, it's a driver. It's very challenging because it's the chart itself is very difficult, and the energy and stamina it takes to sing the song is absolutely mind-blowing. They had multiple swipes and glissandos and things like that. There was a couple of unisons, but some of them weren't 100%, but they were supposed to be. The patter, this song is full of patter, and which I love that. I didn't notice a melody handoff. There may or may not have been one, and I don't think there was a bell chord, but they had the vast majority all in this one arrangement, and that and really nice shoes.
I heard a bell chord in there. I heard
Was there a bell chord?
Yep.
It's like it has virtually everything in the kitchen sink in there. I just think it's awesome. And I just wonder if when the women's were being judged, if they started down with their feet and went up, if we would think of it the same way as watching the guy and going up from their shoes up through their trousers up to their jackets. I don't know. Just seems one of those things is probably better left to having the men. Their lighting is really cool though. So that to me is an example of a really fine arrangement and a really, really good execution of it. So there's another question, Allison?
Yes, the question that someone had was, is vocal percussion considered an embellishment, and is it allowable for a contest, if so?
Wow, that's a challenge to answer without specifics, because you can do a little bit of it, but percussion isn't really you're on a pitch, but it's not going to ring a chord. So it might be technically okay to do it. If I were going to do it, I would do it for a little period of time. I mean, a very small, primarily because you want to have chords that can ring, and you really can't ring that kind of stuff. Is not going to ring. So I think as of now, I probably would lean away from doing very much, if any of it. I don't remember us having talked about that. We're supposed to have we certainly like it in the open division and in the finals packages and stuff like that at international. And that's been done and done well. And in fact, the folks from New Zealand who won the Harmony Classic last 2 times ago, they were doing vocal percussion and in one of that was in a package song. So it's definitely okay to do it. I don't know if I would do it in a contest song, because the sound judge isn't going to be real happy about not having chords. From an expression judge, and if it's done well, it could be exciting, but I don't think all 4 judges are going to be real keen on it. Yeah. I would run it by a music or sound judge, and I can find out, because I haven't ever asked that question. But my answer leans towards I wouldn't, but I don't think it's officially against the rules. So if you do it very short period of time, just so you get the chords in. Because that's what I would say. I would probably not do it depending on what you're going for. Yeah. So in that performance too, they had a lot of with the ringmasters, they had a lot of vocal inflections, their dynamics and their tempo and their changes to in and out of the tempo. I know it's not technically part of this class, but it's what we addressed earlier today. And that's another, I think this is a really good example of the whole package. It's got all the elements of expression from an uptune perspective. At the end of the other class, I played a big ballad. This to me has that same amount of, it's not quite as musically excellent as the Renega, but it's really, really, really good. And they got better and better and better after this. So it's, I think, a really fine example of the expression category using almost all the devices. Tempo changes, consonants, all the embellishments, the vocal inflections, the nuances, synchronization mostly. So, I mean, most of the time was really well synchronized. So I think I would definitely have this. It's definitely one of my favorite performances and favorite songs. Yeah, Allison.
Someone asked what the statue behind you represents.
Oh, this statue here is one I got in New Zealand in 2010, I think. I was down there coaching. I'd been there judging and coaching, but I was just there for a coaching trip, and they were during the day, a gal was touring me around, and we went to downtown Christchurch, and we were near the cathedral, and we went to this art gallery, and I collect glass. I love glass and art glass, and I guess glasses too to have. This is from Mexico. It's what my Diet 7-Up is in. TMI. So this was in a gallery, and I just fell in love with it. So I was just going to have a coffee with this gal, and well, I don't drink coffee, but she did. I had a Coke or something. Anyway, so she was. I saw this, and I fell in love with it, and so I bought it on the fly as an impulse. I had a much better job then, our higher paying job. So I bought that, and it was the beginning of their 3 or 4 week exhibition. So they said, "Can we keep it until the end, and we'll ship it?" Because I was going to have it shipped because it's very heavy. I said, "Okay." So they gave me another little piece of art as a thank you. Well, after 3 or 4, whatever the time it was, I hadn't received it. I got nervous, so I called I called them on the phone, and I said, what it was, and they said, "Oh, we sent it by FedEx 2 days ago, and you should have it tomorrow or the next day." And they gave me the tracking number, and sure enough, I got it 2 days or the next day or 2 days later. And the following day after I received it, they had that bad earthquake in Christchurch, and the epicenter of the earthquake was right at the cathedral. So the cathedral was desecrated pretty much, but the gallery and all that, everything was gone. So I got it 2 days. They shipped it 4 days before it would have never existed. It's glass, it would have broken. So I call this my vowels. So you have a nice O vowel, a really not good U vowel, a nice open U vowel. So an E, a squinty E. So when I'm coaching quartets, they'll say, "Which one do you want me to do?" I said, "You're doing this, you got to do this." So it's just kind of fun. So it's actually geodes. So that's what the story of that's one of my favorite pieces. So it makes me think of New Zealand, makes me think of the beautiful people there, what they went through, and it also brings in singing. So vowels, which is my other favorite topic. So it's pretty special to me. So that's what that one is. But I love glass. And I live in a land of glass. Chihuly, Dale Chihuly's from here, so I have some of this stuff. But they have a bridge in Tacoma over the interstate that goes to a glass museum where they actually make glass and stuff there as well. And it's an outdoor bridge. I mean, it's a highway, and they have on the bridge, they have the walkway. They have Chihuly glass on the ceiling in one of it. So it's about 30 feet or something in length, and maybe 15 feet wide. I don't know the exact dimensions. And above you is about $15 to $20 million worth of Chihuly glass. So I was just there with some visitors last week because it was an outside safe thing to do. And I love going there. And you just sit there you stand there under this glass, and you look up, and it's all like that. I mean, it's amazing. And that's the bottom of his pool at his house is that, and underneath his pool is a hallway. So that's probably where they got the idea. I was able to take a tour of his house once, and it was so cool. Anyway, I was like, so excited. But anyway, that was cool. And then the other part of the bridge, they have ginormous, like some of them are 3 to 6 feet or more glass works that are really, and there's probably, I don't know, 80 or 100 of them on either side in this really thick bulletproof glass. And so you see the light coming at them this way. So, and you walk through it. So it's really special if you come. Is there anything, so anyway, that's just a little tidbit about Dale Chihuly in Tacoma and doing something outside that's safe. So hopefully you have a much better understanding of barbershop embellishments. And any of the stuff with the expression category or any of that, ask me, or that you certainly have other people in your region. I started when Jan was still judging. I of course didn't get to judge with her because we're the same category, but she was the OPL on my very first trial scoring at your region. So we have that in common. But I know her daughter and stuff. So she's a great resource. And any of your other judges or former judges, or you can write any of us. We all like to answer these kind of questions about judging, because our goal is for you to put out the best performance and to get everything possible as far as points and medals and jewelry and stuff that you could possibly get, because that's ultimately our goal, is to give you the feedback and the score that you've worked so hard to deserve. And we all are thrilled to be there doing it. It's really probably one of the best decisions I ever made was to be a judge. I love it. I love it every aspect except for writing the expense reports afterwards. But everything else about it, I absolutely love. You get to meet amazing people. You get to hear amazing music and see people doing something and having spent time on what they love. And hopefully you're giving them feedback to be even better. So if you ever have an inkling to do the judging program, talk to one of us. We love to encourage judges because it's really fun. You learn a lot, you meet amazing people, and you get to travel around the world meeting even more people who are amazing. So, I mean, it's my love and my passion, as our vowels. Just kidding, had to throw vowels back in. So thank you. I went over on my first one, so I'll be just a little bit early on this one. So thanks for being virtually with me today, and hopefully soon we'll get to be in person and enjoy your class with Julie. She's another amazing person that I just adore and so talented. So thank you very much. And I can't wait to be together and sing and actually hear live music. So take care, stay safe, and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Leah. Another wonderful class on embellishments. Such great information. So I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. A big thank you to Lea Beverley. Just we're so thrilled again that you were able to be with us today. Please remember for those of you who have not subscribed yet to our Region 12 YouTube channel, be sure to do that. You receive notifications when we have a live video going, and you get a link that will take you directly there. So please subscribe. Our next class will be starting at 2:30, and that is our last class of the day with Julie Starr, and it is called Being Your Own Vocal Coach. So I hope you can make it. We're so excited again that this day has come together, and thank you again for coming to Leah's class, and a big thank you to Leah again. So we will see you very shortly at 2:30.